And you're welcome back to The Pulse. Now, today, as we do know it, is the World Tuberculosis Day, and the Ghana Health Service says it is concerned about the acceptance and widespread smoking of shisha in the country. There is a misconception that shisha are not as harmful as cigarettes, but the British Heart Foundation says an hour-long shisha session can actually be equivalent to smoking more than 100 cigarette sticks. Greater Accra Regional TB Coordinator at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Farida Abdullahi, told head of the health desk here at Joy News, Fred Smith, that the service is worried that the consumption of the substance is adding to the many factors that predisposes Ghanaians to the deadly tuberculosis disease.
Nowadays, smoking has become quite is on the increase in the country, especially with vaping and the shisha and all that. So smoking also increases your risk of developing active TB disease.
About this smoking as a risk factor, what are the numbers? What information do you have about the increase in smoking?
Yes, so I don't have exact figures as to the numbers that are increasing nowadays. But when you pick up TB clients, especially with the males, and some of them have smoking as a risk factor. So that is what I can say for now. I don't have exact figures. So smoking, and then malnutrition, like I mentioned, and then also diabetes, lifestyle diseases.
Yeah, I want us to stay on the smoking.
Okay.
So which of the smoke items did you find more? Is it shisha? Is it cigarette? Is it the other things that people smoke? Which of them?
Yes, so for now we've not quantified exactly what the people smoke to get them predisposed to TB, but smoking as a whole, because what it does is that it affects your respiratory tract, and so once you inhale in the bacteria, the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, which is the organism that causes TB, then you are more predisposed to getting active TB disease. But as to the exact numbers, I don't have that.
You don't have. So
yes.
What would you advise that the state does so we're able to control this?
So for now, I think as a country, we have put in place a policy of no smoking in public areas. And what I know, what our healthcare workers also do is that we do school health. So we go and give talks on how to maintain health generally in schools, all schools across the country. We have our community health workers and our health promotion officers who do that. And then smoking is usually one of the things they talk about. We also do community outreaches from time to time. And then we have topics we discuss during such outreaches. So smoking is usually one of the things we talk about.
Obviously, that's the concern of the Ghana Health Service. But joining us now to have a conversation on this is Kwame Afutu. He is the head of monitoring and evaluation at the National TB program at the Ghana Health Service. Doc, it's such a good time to have you in studio.
Thank you.
So we're celebrating the World TB Day. A lot of people are still out there not knowing what the implications are when they go to the nightclubs and still just puff shisha. So tell us about the health hazards, first of all, and how harmful it could be to you as an individual.
Good. So thank you for having me. We actually commemorating the day. We are not actually celebrating. Commemorating in the sense that in 1882,
right,
one Dr. Robert Koch discovered the bacilli or the germ that causes tuberculosis.
Okay.
Ever since, we try to put this on the agenda. I mean, reminding everybody that everybody is at risk.
So it's much more a day for creation of awareness.
Right. And these awareness creations extends across the whole year. So the climax is on the 24th of March, as we did today.
Okay.
But it continues.
So it wasn't a one-day activity where maybe you just observe the day and then we move on?
Not at all.
Right.
Actually, the climax is on 24th, which is today.
Okay.
So beyond today, the activities continue. I mean, you see people in the community talking about tuberculosis, radio stations, and all over the place. Now, you ask about the harmful effect of smoking. It's one of the lifestyle factors or reasons that predispose everybody to respiratory diseases.
Okay.
In terms of numbers, it's difficult for us to say that as a result of smoking, X number of our patients
Suffering
from tuberculosis. But we know that it's a risk factor. She also mentioned diabetes, alcoholism, anything that would reduce your immunity, predispose you to tuberculosis. I mean, so substance abuse and even persons living with HIV. I mean, you know the risk.
So the fixation should not just be on smoking.
No, not at all. I mean, even there are other environmental factors such as overcrowding. I mean, if you live in a congested area with poor ventilation, I mean, poor air circulation, that's a very big risk. I mean, all you need is to have somebody in that space who persistently cough. Each time the person coughs is most likely emitting a bacilli from the lungs. Okay, and with a long exposure, you are likely to get infected. But let me first say that if you take the adult population of Ghana, 50% of us have already been exposed to the bacilli that causes tuberculosis.
And that's the most shocking news I've heard all day. The fact that we're all exposed and we don't even seem to know that is the situation in which we find ourselves.
Yeah.
What's accounting for that?
The main reason why we didn't know is that at the moment we are very fit. I mean, probably you and I are actively engaged.
Walking about.
We earn some relatively good salary, so we're able to feed well. I mean, take good care of ourselves for now. And again, probably beyond that, we live relatively in a decent environment, so the risk is reduced. But as you age and when your organs become compromised, then the risk of getting tuberculosis increases. I mean, so you find that in the age of 65 plus population, you find, if you look at the proportion of our patients, it's very high in that group. But of course, just that their numbers are not large. Our population is predominantly a young one.
Yeah, youthful population.
Youthful population.
Right. So what you mean to say is that you could have a situation where you can carry maybe the disease for a very long time without detecting it. Is there a possibility, scientifically speaking, is there a possibility like
that? Yes, because the fact that you are exposed to the germ doesn't mean that you catch the disease. There are a lot of other things that go on within your body.
Right.
The body has a mechanism in the first place to even fight infection. So until such time that the infection override the body's ability to fight disease, you do not get the full-blown disease. Yeah.
So for instance, how long could one go without noticing it?
You certainly cannot put a fixed period on it because there are other factors that come into play. We mentioned immunity. I mean, if Nigeria was the fiakwa, I mean, God forbid, if you have HIV, certainly your immune system will go down.
So, yeah.
If at any time you get cancer, your immune system will begin to go down. Diabetes. So there are other factors that come to play. So the most important thing is that you try to, as much as possible, to live a healthy lifestyle. So one of the things we are also doing to support such populations that may be infected but don't know is that anytime you have a TB patient diagnosed, we try as much as possible to get in touch with all his or her contacts. Anybody that is in contact with him. For now, our contact predominantly is defined as household contacts.
Okay.
So we screen all those persons. Those we think have a higher risk, we test them for TB. If you have TB, you are treated just like the patient who was initially diagnosed. Those who do not have TB, we give them what we call a TB preventive therapy. Simply because that they have been exposed to an active case. It's too likely that they are infected. But at that point, they are not showing signs of disease.
So this pretty much works like COVID. I don't know if it's fair to do that comparison, though.
You are 101% right. Tuberculosis and TB, tuberculosis and COVID.
Right.
In fact, TB is an elder cousin. They share same symptoms.
Wow.
If you have TB, you cough. COVID, you cough. Fever, I mean, elevated body temperature.
Right.
Either way. The difference between the cough of a TB case and a COVID patient is that COVID cough is dry, but in TB it's productive,
right,
in the sense that you produce phlegm, what we call sputum. Then again, you need a long exposure to get TB. You are talking of 12 weeks, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, a long exposure. And the incubation period could be 1 year plus. Incubation means that from the time you are exposed to the bacilli or the disease causing organism, and when you show signs of the disease, as the incubation period, it could be as short as 1 year and as long as forever.
You're right.
Now, in COVID, you and I know that it is 2 to 14 days.
Okay.
You begin to show signs of that disease. So that's the main distinction between COVID and then tuberculosis. Right. They have the same symptoms.
So all you need to do is to ensure that your immune system is active, is working, functioning properly, so you are able to contain or even prevent the disease.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, so the single best way of preventing the disease is to make sure that all who are affected are treated. What do I mean? If I am a TB patient, the best I can do to protect you, or you can do to protect yourself, is to make sure I receive treatment, and that I go through logically to the end of the treatment.
Okay.
Once I am cured, the risk of infecting you
will not be
zero.
Right.
Okay. So society has a responsibility to ensure that all TB patients are treated.
I'm glad that you're raising that point. There are those who say that in terms of regulation, this is the time that we need to crack the whip. For instance, we need the Ghana Health Service, for instance, to go out, check pubs and nightclubs where people, for instance, use shisha. I'm sure that we just heard that from the interview. There are calls that, well, why not enforce the preventive side so that we don't even accumulate a number of cases that will pose danger to our society? What's the Ghana Health Service going to do about these nightclubs and places and pubs that allow persons to smoke shisha in the open?
Yeah, I think she also mentioned that there are acts or laws.
Okay.
I mean, for example, you cannot smoke in a public space. Okay, so there's a definition for public space. So in pubs or other places, they may be deemed as public, but that's another, call it, the spectrum, which probably is also commercial. So at best, what Ghana Health Service does and would continue to do is to educate you and I, so that.
So what you're telling me is there's a challenge enforcing the conditions within the act.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Right.
I mean, so the definition is, what is a public space?
Are you having difficulties as a service identifying what that public space is and why you're not able to crack down on these places?
I don't think that is a challenge, identifying what we mean by public space. Typically, if you enter any government space, you cannot smoke. The systems are there to make sure you don't smoke. Even in some pubs, there are designated areas for smoking. Okay. Now, you see, implementing laws comes in various phases. The first thing you want to do is that you have an informed society. Then, of course, for lack of a better word, I will use a deviant. Others who, no matter what you do, I mean, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's why there's the provision of the law to deal with them.
Yeah.
So why are you not dealing with them anyway? That's what I'm interested in. Because you're educating, we're educating the public as you speak. There are many out there sitting down and saying, well, I'm innocent. And in fact, science has proven that even when you're smoking, those who inhale, I mean, passers-by are those who are mostly affected from the fumes that we see. Right, yes. Precisely. So if that's the case, then we should be concerned about enforcing the preventive measures. Are there some plans in place, things that you'll be rolling out to deal with these things?
Certainly, even as a program, it's one of the things that we consistently do. I mean, if you look at the focus of the World TB Day, we are talking of good lung health. What it means is that preserve your lung. Don't do A, B, C, D. Don't live in a congested environment. Make sure you don't smoke. Don't also be a passive smoker. As far as we can go as a unit or an umbrella of Ghana Health Service. Now, applying the law, of course, you know the dimensions it goes. I mean, the police service would come in collaboration with the Ghana Health Service. And for the World TB Day, that is not the focus. It's part of what we do regularly. Now, so by the World TB Day, what we are trying to bring to the fore is that take good care of yourself. Don't smoke. Don't engage in all the other the vices of lifestyle. But beyond that, if you fall ill, anytime you feel, no, this is not me, walk to the nearest hospital, health center. They will screen you, they'll ask you questions, and don't be evasive. Don't be evasive. I use the word don't be evasive because of stigma associated with COVID and tuberculosis. People come to the OPDs, you ask all the relevant questions, the answer is no, 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 no. I don't cough. Then the person sits behind and all of a sudden begins to cough. It's a physiological reaction, you can't entirely stop it. Now, so the earlier we are able to pick the patients and put them on treatment, the lower the risk to the larger society. So we are encouraging everybody to, if you feel you are sick, go to the hospital. And again, we also encourage society, community, don't stigmatize TB patients or COVID patients. It's just one of those diseases. Because one, if you stigmatize them, then they are even reluctant to go to the hospital. When they fall ill, they will go through all other places, the prayer camps, chemical shops. And by the time they come to the hospital, then they are getting to a very advanced stage of disease. Let me share this data with you, or the information. If you take all the TB patients that we put on treatment, about 3 of them die each day. So 365 days times 3, we are talking about almost 1,200 patients that we lose. Some of them, we lose them because they do not come to the hospital early enough for the system to diagnose them and put them on treatment. So they come at advanced stage of disease. You see it. Now, this is among those who come to the hospital and are diagnosed. If you extend this to the general population, it's about 42 persons a day. So in a year, we are losing about 15,500 Ghanaians or people living in Ghana, most probably due to tuberculosis. We are not able to find all the TB cases. WHO estimates that if you take 100,000 persons in Ghana, 143 of them should have tuberculosis. So that amounts to about 44,000 TB patients each year. Each year. Now, what are we doing? Before COVID, we were able to find about a third of these patients, about 15,000. We're doing 14,500, 14,800.
But now you want to scale it up?
Because of COVID, it nosedived.
So it's even decreasing?
It decreased to, I mean, in 2021, we are talking about a little over 13,000, precisely 13,322. Why? Because of the stigma associated with COVID and TB. People come to the OPD. One of the things we are doing is that at the OPDs, everybody is asked questions related to symptoms of COVID and tuberculosis, so that we can early detect and put them on treatment. But there are 2 reasons: because of the stigma and I mean, basically,
and the era in which we find ourselves.
And the era in which we find ourselves. So people are evasive. So we are not able to pick them early and put them on treatment.
That's why we need you to just step out if you are not feeling well and make sure that you get tested. Today is the World TB Day, and we're grateful that you've been able to join us in studio here. But don't forget that this is still the polls. We will be, first of all, checking what's happening around the world. And don't forget that our eyes are still on the Ghana-Nigeria match. We'll talk about that shortly. But let's, first of all,